You still making excuses? Because if you are, you're not trying to explain your reality. You're trying to protect it. But what if the same excuses that you keep repeating is the very thing that's keeping you small? I'm Logan, a high-performance coach specializing in mindset transformations for professionals looking to lead stronger, execute faster, and grow their business. And the uncomfortable truth is that excuses are rarely about what's happening around you and always about what you're still allowing inside you. And the real shift, well, we'll get to that before this ends. Let's develop. First things first that you have to understand is that excuses are your safety net. And because they're your safety net, they create two sub-conditions that you also have to be aware of. And the first thing is that excuses create false security. Most excuses are pre-built justification just in case you don't win. And the thing to that is that in order for that to exist, you have to already have failure in not accomplishing it as an option that's on the table that you are prepared to accept, because you are establishing a plan that would allow you to accept it and make it comfortable for you to accept it. Therefore, you have your excuse. The thing that we know is that a lot of times when we want to go into something, what is always required? It's required that we operate and we commit fully 100%. And when you reserve something or create something, and in this case, that being an excuse, that's going to say that, hey, I want to reserve this space for me to say that it's okay. It's okay that I fail. It's okay that I don't make it. It's not going to hurt anybody because it just wasn't meant for me. Does that sound familiar to you? Because false security is exactly what it's called. False. Meaning that it's giving you a perception of reality that's not true. You never even had a moment to discover if something was really for you, because you didn't have the moment to grow, because you denied it, because you wanted to live in a falsehood that felt comfortable. And what that leads to is that takes you into what we call identity anchors. The more you repeat them, the more they sound like your personality. Why? Because the more you repeat them, the more you are instructing yourself that this is part of your personality. That it's okay to look at things, and if you can't make it, it's okay to have a reason for your failure that's acceptable. It's okay to not have to take the personal responsibility for the failure. It's okay. And just because you did it before, and what I mean by that is just because you were willing to fight the hard fight before, but on this time, in this scenario, in this moment, you want to quit. You want to make an excuse because it's getting too uncomfortable. Well, it doesn't matter what your past does, because you're only as good as the last thing you faced without an excuse. Because once you get into a place where you allow excuse making to become part of your identity, as in how you view yourself, how you process the world, how you process how things work, well, when that happens, what you start to do is you start to limit your ability. I'll give you an example. I don't remember exactly where I heard this example, but it was a scientific test that they ran. And what they did was they put, I believe it was, for the sake, I'll just say grasshoppers or fleas. Well, it was one of the two. And either way, they put them in a jar and then they closed the lid on the jar. So every time they would jump, they would keep hitting their head, banging their head, bang, hit the head. So in order to prevent that, they conditioned and trained themselves, as in limited their ability and prevented themselves from hitting them, banging themselves on the head. Now, the thing about this is that when it comes into part of your identity anchor, it feels like you're just problem solving. And problem solving is a wonderful, amazing thing, but you're not problem solving. You're justifying limitations. So even with this example, they kept hitting their head on the lid. And when they took the lid off, they didn't start jumping back out like they would have the first time when they didn't make excuses and they lived without limitations and they didn't impose limitations on themselves when they were willing to give it all that they had. What did they do? They only jumped just short of the top, where they had trained themselves to be conditioned to not give it all that they got, because every time they gave it all that they got, they felt discomfort. And this is what happens when you allow the excuse to become the reason you stop evolving. You stop giving it everything you got. You stop looking at things based on how do I solve this problem and why me. You start turning everything into a why me. And you can never reach your full potential. You can never accomplish the next level that you're meant to go to because you're wrapping yourself in excuses. Now, the powerful mechanism about that is that everything that is done, every limitation we place on ourselves can also be undone, and we can free ourselves from the bondage we have enslaved our own selves in, called excuses. See, the limitation that the people impose on themselves that we call excuses, that justify you not giving it all you have because it just wasn't in the cards for you. The thing about that is that's where people quietly lose the race all the time, and they are completely unaware of it. And I don't want that to be you. So what I need you to do right now is I need you to eliminate escape routes. That means I need you to burn the backup plan, because clarity only shows up when quitting is not an option. Singular focus. A couple of things that we can see in basic science when it comes to having a singular focus is that when you focus on something, because science teaches us that we can only truly focus on one thing at a time, meaning we can be aware of everything around us, but we can only focus on the one thing at the time. And if your solution, if your only outcomes that you will accept is either win or win, then everything about you starts to figure out how to win. And it says that, yes, I have awareness of all of these other things that are fighting against me. I have awareness of all of these other things that are attacking my business, from bad employees, bad partnership, bad decision making on how I utilize the funds in the development, in the marketing budget, and the operational budget. I'm aware of all of these things, but the actual truth that I have and I understand is that I have a focus. And as long as I keep my singular focus, it will allow me to exist in a place that will only be able to find a solution. Hey, real quick, if you're getting value from the content I'm providing, please subscribe and turn on the bell notification so my team and I know that we are providing value to you and you know the next time we create it. If you've been struggling with execution, not because you lack drive, but because you're stuck in your own head, I want to invite you to something different, and it's called the Execution Chamber. This isn't hype. This isn't surface level motivation. This is where leaders come to get clear, get tactical, and follow through. So if you've been overthinking, battling imposter syndrome, or drowning in responsibility with no structure, that is what we solve. And it's absolutely free to join. See, inside the chamber, we use real frameworks, weekly trainings, and community accountability. Not pressure, but precision. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and stop trying to do this alone, click the link in the description and join us in the Execution Chamber, where execution stops being optional. So there's a previous video where I talk a lot about this, and I also do this in training with my clients, where I talk about the power of questions, right? If you're asking the questions of how you can fail, and most things that you do, whenever you make an excuse, you're justifying and saying it's okay for failure. And it's like saying, oh, well, it's understandable how I failed. And when you do that, you will find reasons to fail. But when you eliminate all of that, and you take it off the table, you don't have a backup plan to make you feel safe that if everything don't work out, I'll just go there. It's either here or die. Well, the only questions you have is, how do I do? How do I do this? How do I execute? What do I need to do to win right here? Because I don't have another option. I don't have another viable option, because I plan on living, I plan on going, I plan on keep fighting. So I don't have another viable option in my business. Yes, we got hit financially. Yes, I don't know where my next client's coming from. Yes, I feel like I'm wrapped in struggle. Yes, I'm lost. I'm insecure, and everybody's looking at me for the answer, and I have no idea what to do. It doesn't matter. As long as you are willing to only give yourself the viable option of win or win, then you can seek and discover what are the missing gaps in your business that's going to allow you to take everything to the place, to the destination, to the experience that you are truly seeking. And just to help you go through a revelation process on this, I want you to call your bluff. And what I mean by call your bluff, I want you to write down 3 of your go-to excuses. Things you go to all the time. And I want you to write them down, and I want you to write why they make sense to you. And I guarantee that when you sit back and you read it objectively, you're going to see how shallow, how insignificant, and how weak they are. When you have everything trapped in your mind, the problem with that is that you're trying to go through a logical process, but you're keeping it housed in a place, which is your mind, right? You're having it housed in a place where your emotions live. And because you have it housed in a place where your emotions live, your emotions are going to taint the view and affect the outcome of your what seemingly felt like a logical process. When you put it outside of you and you literally write it down, you're able to assess it in a way that says, you know what? This paper doesn't have any feelings. These words don't have any feelings. These facts don't have any feelings. So when I'm looking at it, I can see it for what it is. And it's not about how I feel. It's just about what it is. And when you can separate all that emotion from what it is, you begin to be able to discover and figure out that, hey, I have a way to solve this because I don't need easy. I never needed easy. And easy is not the most developmental path. All I need is possible. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to build brutal accountability. So we have a group called the Execution Chamber, and this is what we're all about. Brutal accountability. And that is surround yourself with people who will call out the things that you keep justifying, the limitations that you keep trying to say, okay, the excuses that you keep making. You need to have someone who doesn't carry the emotional attachment to that excuse to call you out, to let you know, then hold you accountable so that you can grow, so that you can break the barrier of your limitations. Another phrase that I use for this is I call it obligating yourself to success. So you have to know yourself. You have to have a real conversation with yourself about who you are, about your limitations, about your tendencies, and then you have to fill the gap. So when I say obligate yourself to success, I use it, for example, if you say that you want to practice Spanish. Well, if you hire a Spanish teacher, tutor, and you have to show up and have these things done every week, or the whole world is going to know that you're not who you say you are. You're big fraud, big fake, big everything, and you deserve failure. And everything that you promised to your family and told them how much you care and love them, you didn't mean it in the first place. If you put those kind of stakes on it, then the likelihood of you failing becomes unreasonable. And that's what we have to do. Excuses makes failure reasonable and accomplishment unreasonable. So I told you I would come back to this, the real shift. It's not about pushing harder. It's about no longer making space for your excuses to live in. Because once you stop making them, guess what happens? You also stop needing them. And when that version who says that excuses are okay, when that version of you dies, then you will find that things start to change, shift, grow, develop. You get stronger, get better, more efficient, and capable and deserving of accomplishing more. Simply by doing what you need to do and not justifying your limitations with excuses. So if you're done making excuses, don't keep scrolling. I want you to declare it right now. I want you to drop one excuse in the comments that you're done with. And then I want you to subscribe so you can stay connected. And I want you to share it so you can spread the truth. And also make sure you join us in the Execution Chamber, where we trade excuses for execution. And when you join, you'll be able to access worksheets for every YouTube video that I posted, so that you're not just watching content, you're actually working through it and assimilating it and integrating it into your life. If you want to go deeper into why you've been overcompensating instead of executing, I want you to click the video right here. It breaks down the hidden belief behind your grind and how it's been masking your value the whole time. And as always, remember that any and everything can be solved with development.